Hi, and welcome to another Type with Me. In today's video, I'm going to talk about Ts.ED middleware. We already discovered what Ts.ED is. It's a TypeScript library for writing server-side web applications and REST APIs, right? And so Ts.ED has also middleware. Maybe you know already how to use middleware from Koa or from Express.js. Well, a lot of these things can already be reused, but you can also write your own specific middleware and also use services within your middleware to work with them. So let's see how this works. First of all, we can go to server.ts, right? And when you go to server.ts, you can see here that we can adapt this.app.use, and here we have course, compress, method override, and body parser. So if you're familiar with these kind of middleware from Koa or Express, you can very easily use them. If you want to have another one like Morgan to log, for example, you can very easily do something like .use. So that's already a very great thing, I suppose. You also need to know that it's in the before route initiated that he is trying to do that. Of course, when we are trying to use some middleware, we need to add this one, right? We need to add components scan, and then we have here our root directory, which is our source, and then we have services, which are the services right here, and we have a folder middleware, but we don't have a folder middleware yet. So I'm going to create a folder middleware. So if I'm going here, I'm going to add folder middlewares, and then of course we can very easily start to use middlewares there. So first of all, I just want to use a very easy one, something that just logs something to the console when you visit a route, right? Then I'm going to create a very easy model where you have just a counter, and whenever you go to your middleware, we're going to add the counter. And then we're going to create also a controller where you can visit how much the counter is. So then you can just see how many calls there are being done on your REST APIs. And that's just a very simple middleware that I want to create together with you guys. So are you ready to do so? Well, let's go. First of all, I'm also going to save this, right? And then we're going to set up middleware. So for this one, it's just log.middleware.ts. It's a very simple middleware that I first want to start with. Now I'm going to add this one right here, and then you see that it's very easy to build up, right? You have here decorator middleware, then you have your class custom middleware, and then you have the use method. If you're familiar with creating a middleware in Express or Koa, you will be very familiar with the use because they are also using the use, right? So that's great. And then whenever we have a call to a REST API, we do just a console.log with the ID and then the request.id, right? So I'm going to save this. So we have three types of middleware. The first one is the global middleware. The global middleware is being used on every call, right? Then we have the endpoint middleware. It's just being used on a specific endpoint. You can just configure that by using a decorator on that endpoint and then refer to the middleware. And then we have also error middleware. error middleware is being used whenever an error occurs. Well, then the error middleware comes or kicks in, right? So this custom middleware or log middleware, I'm going to call it log middleware. Well, we are going to use it as a global middleware, right? So first of all, I'm going to use it as a global middleware, then we're going to use it as an endpoint middleware, and then we are going to create our counter middleware. So let's see how this works. Well, we already saw here that we are using middleware, right? Before routes init, and we can very easily do something like this.use, and then we can say log middleware, and now we are also going to use this class as middleware within our application. Another clever way to register your middleware is very easy by just adding something to your configuration decorator, something like this. You also need to know that not everything here is usable, but you could do something like that. So for example, this one, and then you say middlewares, and then you register all your middlewares. The biggest advantage of this is that you can also register a middleware only for an environment, like for example, something only needs to kick in for production. If you go to a test environment or a development environment, you don't need that, or you're going to use other things on a development or testing environment, add more logging, add more capabilities in it, just to help developers out, right? So these are also possible ways to do so. These middlewares will be added after the other middlewares via the hook that I showed before are being registered, right? So it's just an example. I'm going to remove it again. For this tutorial, we don't need them. So it's been removed. Great. So we added the log middleware, right? If I now going to start our application, we can go very easily to an API call, or just do a call with Postman. So I'm going to do just a call with Postman, right? So it's sometimes great or nice just to do a call with Postman. You see here that we don't have any to-dos, right? So it's also not that much of importance to do so, but we can just create one, and then here again to get, and then we get our to-do back. So that's great. But let's go back to our application and to our logs, right? So you see here that he printed out ID and then undefined. You can see already here that request ID is the right thing to do. So I'm going to change it here. Of course, here we want to have something like request ID, or I don't know, dot maybe method or something like that. Alright, we have modified it. I'm going to check if it really works. If we really have now something like method and then request.method, I don't know. I'm going to see also if I can have something like request dot and then original URL. Great. Something like that. Alright, let's see how this looks like. So first of all, let's create something again. Alright, let's create it. And here, let's send this back. All right, now we have something, right? All right, so if I go back, and you see here that we have method get rest to do. And it's something that we want to have, right? Because we want to have the method and the original URL. So that's great. Awesome. So now I only want to have this one, middleware on specific endpoint. So I'm going to disable it right here. So now we can go, for example, towards this one where we get return of the tutorials, for example. And we go to /type with me, and then we can do something like this, but I don't want to have it like custom middleware, but just like a log middleware. And then of course I can add this one used before. Port. I think you have also use after, right? That's when you have executed your whole method and you want to do something after that. You can very easily do that. So for example, you do something like log middleware, and you'll see that we have 2 entries there, right? If I'm going to save this, you'll see that this one kicks in. I'm just gonna restart it, and then we'll see what will go on, right? All right, so we can just create something, send, we can look at it again. All right, great. So if we now going to look into our logs, you see here that we don't have anything that comes up there. So if we now go to /type with me and we return tutorials, yeah, it should register that, right? All right, so here I need to type with me, send tutorials, great. So now here I have my get method, here I have also my get method, and then you see here that we have get rest type with me, and here also method get rest type with me. But then again, it just prints out the log afterwards, which is also being configured within Ts.ED. Nice. So that's that. Of course, we have also another type that I already explained before, and that was the error middleware, right? So that's also something that you still can do. But I just want to create a new cool middleware for you. So the counter middleware, count middleware, that's that one. I also want to create counter, not a model, I'm sorry. I want to create a service, a model service. So new file, counter service ts. What we're gonna do is just copy and paste because it makes more sense to do so. Alright, then here do something like counter service, and then here counter, another read only because we want to write to it. It's a number. We start with 0. And then here add something like that. And of course, this dot counter. And then what is counter? It's a number. And what are we going to return? Well, we're going to return a counter, right? So great, we have set up this one. Then here I'm going to copy paste this. Copy, paste, counter. I'm going to rename it. Rename counter middleware.ts. Great. Of course, we want to have something like this here. I want to have my constructor. I can say private read only counter service, and then here counter service. Of course, I need to import it, and then here we can very easily do counter this dot counter service. Yeah. It's counter service dot add. And then I'm just going to add it in the Type.ED controller, right? But I hope you understand what we could do with it. But I'm just going to copy paste it here and here, and this one also here. Do an import. That's just great. Yeah, I don't need these log middleware anymore. And then here I'm going to do something like return this dot counter service dot what is counter. What is counter? Right. So this should be it, right? We have our counter service where we can ask what the counter is. We have our middleware that just counts whenever a request comes in, and we have our counter service itself. But of course, still one thing that we need to do, and that's something that you really need to take into mind because it's something that you will forget. And that's we need to register our middleware, right? Yeah. We need to register our middleware. So we will do it with this.use, and then here our middleware, right, ta-da, great. And then when we go to the right, API calls, you will see that the counter goes up, and of course we get the right result back. If you really want to check, for example, that within Type.ED, then you can do something like if request dots and then original URI dot index of, and then here's something like Type.me. Equals this one, and then we're going to add it because if Type.me is not in it, then we're going to add it, right? Great. So I hope you are still with me. I know it's a very long video. It's a longer video than normal, but yeah, it's just great to talk about this. I can talk about this for hours, but that's not something that I want to bother you with, right? But okay, so we have nothing here. So now I'm just going to create something, and then here I'm going to create maybe another one. So how many calls did we do? Well, we did 3 calls, right? So if we go back to rest typed with me and I do send, we have here 3. So our counter middleware is working. It just counts how many calls we have, and that's all set and done for us. So that's great. I'm just going to show you a little bit how the error middleware works. I hope you are still with me, and then that's it for this week. So thank you very much for just bearing this out to the almost end of the video. So if you want to intercept your errors, you can very easily do this with error handling.middleware.ts here, and then you see that we have something like error unknown. We also going to use next, but we are not going to call it. If you don't use that, it also is not going to do so. But this one, it's a nice one to use and to catch your errors. So you made it to the end of the video. Thumbs up for you. If you like this video, thumbs up for me, and hopefully another subscription. Thank you very much. See you next time.